I'm voting Conservative. There you go.
Yeah, for a change.
What happened to Pierre Poilievre? So I have noticed a recent shift in the Conservative Party campaign where they appear in some of their more recent ads to not include their own leader, neither his voice or his face, in their advertising. I noticed this last night while I was watching about 6 hours of NHL playoff hockey. A Conservative ad played a few times, a few different ones, or at least a couple different ones, and neither included Pierre Poilievre. So in this video, I'm going to play for you 3 recent ads of theirs where they are clearly making a shift away for, I think, obvious reasons. Pierre Poilievre isn't all that likable, so they are trying to hope you forget who the leader of the party is. Keeping in mind, the people in these ads are not going to be the ones you're going to see on TV every day. So I want to start with this ad, since this one is getting the most traction. At least people are talking about this for a variety of reasons. This is a couple of actors here playing golf, and they're talking about the election. Check this out.
How's your son, David?
Well, it's been a tough few years for him. He just can't seem to get ahead.
Yeah, we had to pay for Sarah's down payment last year. Things are tough for her, too.
You know what Mark Carney says.
Come on, do you really think that a 4th Liberal term is going to change anything?
You know, I've been thinking the same thing.
Are we really going to give these clowns a 4th term? I'm voting Conservative. There you go.
Yeah, for a change.
Ask your doctor about Cialis. That's the impression I got from this ad. That isn't to say this won't be effective potentially in some way, at least more effective than the ads including Pierre Poilievre, because again, Pierre Poilievre is not likable. So any ad that doesn't include him and has no specifics at all about anything except for, I think we need change, I think is probably more effective than the ads that they were initially running that included him. Now, I would love to know what Mark Carney said. This guy here. Apparently, Mark Carney said something. I want to know what it was. Maybe we would have got some policy in the ad. But he was cut off by the other actor, and they continued on. And it's also noteworthy here that they are positioning the Conservative Party as change, and Mark Carney isn't change, even though Mark Carney clearly is a change from where the Liberal Party was under Trudeau. And Mark Carney's housing policy alone is something that I wish the NDP would discuss, or I should say would adopt a more progressive version of that. The Carney's housing policy is more change than what any other party in the race is offering, at least any other major party in the race is offering. So it's dishonest to claim that the Conservative Party is for change and inherently that means good change, when the reality is, as I've discussed in many videos, and Pierre Poilievre, you can look up what he stands for. His idea of change is to make Canada more American, in the sense that taxes will be lower, but that also means public services are cut. Now, he claims, I'm not going to cut anything. I'm not going to cut dental care or anything, because he knows those are popular policies. Dental care, child care, pharmacy care, these are popular things. But if his goal is to balance the budget, as he claims that's his goal, then where are the cuts coming from? So, look, maybe you think America's great and you want Canada to become more American, then I guess Pierre Poilievre's your guy. But if you want proper investments into infrastructure, into housing, into healthcare, dental, childcare, then change that the Conservative Party is offering isn't inherently going to be a good thing. But since this ad includes a couple of older gentlemen, I was thinking if this ad was more honest, maybe they'd be talking about pensions. But of course, they're not going to do that in a Conservative ad, as the Canadian Union of Public Employees breaks down here. So to be clear, there is a bias here. The bias is towards wanting to protect pensions. But they write here, Pierre Poilievre will take a wrecking ball to your pension. So when he was 31, he already qualified for his pension, which is $120,000 a year. But in 2012, Pierre voted to increase the age of eligibility for old age security and guaranteed income supplement from 65 to 67, which was reversed when the Liberals came in 2015. And Pierre promoted allowing employers to abandon the pension they promised to workers. He also voted against expansion of the Canada Pension Plan. And by the way, there are many more policies here. I'm not going to go through the whole article, but I will link to it below the video in case you're curious. And you can look all these votes up. These are all votes that he made. They write here, where will we be if Pierre's Conservatives are elected? Last time they were in power, they brought in the biggest cut to Canada's public pension system in history, a cut they never campaigned on, which is worth noting here because Pierre Poilievre is not, of course, not campaigning on cutting pensions, but that's exactly what the Conservative Party did last time when they were in. And even at National Post, which it's worth noting, National Post is funded by an American company, which may go to why they are very vocally, clearly very pro Poilievre. But they want to soothe minds here. Poilievre says he'll keep retirement age of 65 and play for boomers. So, of course, because why would he campaign on cutting pensions? But the reality is, based on the track record of Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party, it is much different. Let's get to the other ad here. This also does not include Pierre Poilievre.
I see people in grocery stores picking up products, looking at the price, putting them back.
The Liberals get back in, oh my gosh, I just signed my pension check over to the Liberal government. They'll have it all before I even get it.
One of my children left Canada for better employment opportunities.
I feel for seniors, I feel for the youth. We can't afford another 4 years. We can't afford Mark Carney.
We need change desperately.
So this ad, again, very little on policy, but the two things that do bring up specifics, groceries, I'll get to that in a second, pensions already mentioned, are real. Like, this is why Pierre Poilievre, while Trudeau was leader of the Liberals, was getting some traction. It wasn't even necessarily because of what Trudeau was or wasn't doing. It was the affordability crisis, which is a global thing where really since COVID, and before COVID, but COVID ballooned it, you have people that are incredibly wealthy continuing to benefit and see their wealth rise while everybody else is losing. So the criticisms are often correct. Yes, people are struggling. Yes, the cost of homes are outrageous. Yes, the cost of groceries have gone up. But the solutions from Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives simply aren't there. So when talking about groceries, for example, it is just, it's incredible. When you have the Poilievre's, I want to get her proper title here. So Jenny Byrne is Poilievre's campaign director. This is the same person that the NDP called for an investigation into because of her lobbying firm with ties to top conservative, her lobbying firm has ties to the Conservative Party, as she worked with the Conservative Party while her firm lobbied for, get this, Loblaws. Byrne's firm lobbies on behalf of grocery giant Loblaw. The Ontario Lobbyist Registry lists 6 employees of Jenny Byrne Associates as registered lobbyists for Loblaw Companies Limited. So while the Conservative Party is claiming to care so much about grocery prices, are they going to do anything about the corporate greed that has led to the cost of groceries going up? Of course not. These things are intertwined. Now, I want to be clear as well. The Liberal Party up to this point has also not been willing to do what is necessary in terms of clamping down on the greed of these massive corporations, particularly when it comes to groceries as well. But the idea that the Conservative Party has the answer here is laughable. Not to mention, The Breach has several investigations into this, and they do great pieces investigating into conservatives and liberals, by the way. But they write here, corporate lobbyists are flocking to Pierre Poilievre's Cash for Access fundraisers. More than 100 active or recent corporate lobbyists have attended the Conservative Party Cash for Access fundraiser since Pierre Poilievre became leader. Meanwhile, he's going around the country caring, or pretending to care so much about, the working class. And this is a guy who, his 20 years in Parliament, all of his votes have been against unions and in the benefit of corporations. Let me get to the last ad now. This one is Stephen Harper. The one I saw was 30 seconds, so I'm going to show you what I saw. The beginning is just him talking about himself.
I led Canada through the global financial crisis. Today, we also face big challenges, from the Trump administration and the performance of our own economy. The two men running to lead us both once worked for me, and my choice unequivocally is Pierre Poilievre. Only Pierre is putting forward an actual plan to make life affordable, make our streets safer, and put us in a strong position in dealing with the US. Only Pierre will bring change. Please join with me in voting Conservative.
Now, got that fake smile at the end. I gotta wonder if this really helps him, considering how poorly the Conservatives lost in 2015. That said, you could also argue that this probably helps him more than having Pierre Poilievre in an ad. But it's worth noting here. You have somebody who, of course, is going to vote for or support the conservative leader. This is a former conservative, the last conservative prime minister. Of course, he's going to endorse the current conservative leader. He hasn't left the party. What I think is more newsworthy is the fact that you had somebody, a close advisor of Stephen Harper, Benjamin Perrin, now openly discussing how he has backed Carney and he's warning against Pierre Poilievre. So he's the former legal advisor to Prime Minister Stephen Harper. He writes here, under Pierre Poilievre, the Conservatives have embraced conspiracy theories, regressive proposals, and MAGA-style policies. Quote, in Prime Minister Mark Carney, I see a leader of substance with the skills and experience to navigate the storms of Trump's unpredictability and threats. So there's a larger piece here. So those quotes were taken from his piece here on why he's backing Carney. But this is somebody who has had a political transformation. So he, in 2015, that's actually when he left the Conservative Party after realizing that he had been wrong the entire time. But, good for him for having that political awakening and being open. And he's even apologized for some of the stuff that he once advocated for. But he also wrote here, quoting the Financial Times, Poilievre, quote, courting the far right, driven by anger, aggressive, reminiscent of the MAGA movement. Carney, stable, antidote to Trump's chaos and a tariff-induced recession. And he also wrote this piece. Poilievre wants to override fundamental rights in service of tough-on-crime policies that won't even work. So this is about the notwithstanding clause that I did a whole video on, Pierre Poilievre's proposal right here. I will link to this on the video on YouTube and below the video as well, so check it out in case you missed that. For someone who claims to care so much about government overreach, what Pierre Poilievre is proposing is incredibly dangerous. But again, it's just, what do you think about this campaign, this decision to slowly remove him from the campaign in these ads and focus more on other people talking about, the Conservative Party or the Liberals in a bid to try and get support? Let me know your thoughts below in the comments.